Hi, I'm Mark Keefe with American Rifleman, and this week's Gun of the Week is actually a classic. This is the Colt Detective Special. Now, the gun I have here, of course, this is a 1980s gun because this gun literally ran from 1927 all the way till the end of Colt revolver production in the 1990s. This gun is circa 1982, and it appeared in the magazine in an article written by my former boss, Pete Dickey. When Dickey did an article, there's a lot of facts in there. The Detective Special actually started with the Colt Police Positive Special. The Police Positive was the traditional swing-out cylinder 6-shot Colt, but it was chambered in 38 New Colt or 38 Smith & Wesson, so it had a much shorter cylinder. For the Police Positive Special, they chambered it for the 38 Smith & Wesson Special, even though Colt didn't like that, and they had to extend the cylinder and frame a little bit. And that gave us, in 1927, a gun called the Detective Special. And of course, it had a snub-nosed barrel. It was really there were guns with short barrels before, but they never really had a name. They were just, you know, the Police Positive with a 2-inch barrel or 1 7/8" barrel. So with the Detective Special, Colt really created an iconic class all its own. The early guns were square butt, and the later guns that shortly into production, they changed to a rounded butt. These were guns that were used by plainclothes police detectives. They were also used, of course, in some cases by bad guys. But really it was film noir, those great movies from the 1930s and 40s and 50s that put the Detective Special on the map, at least in Hollywood culture. Very famous guns. Every police drama, every detective movie, you got to expect there was a Colt Detective Special. Now the Detective Special evolved over time. This gun is a later gun, and it has a Shrouded Ejection Rod right here. The early guns, of course, don't have that. Some of these guns, of course, were worked on by Fitz, and they became known as Fitz Specials, and they'd have a bobbed hammer and, of course, a cutout here at the front of the trigger guard. Not necessarily recommended by liability lawyers today. So, of course, this is a Colt traditional double-action revolver, and you have to pull the cylinder release to the rear to open it up. A lot of folks don't actually know that. I handed one of these to a police officer one time, and he just looked at it and finally handed it back to me because he'd never seen one before. But it has a good double-action trigger pull, nice and smooth. Again, back when Colt really knew how to do this. And of course, it could be fired single action. In the 1950s, in 1950 in particular, Smith & Wesson brought out its Centennial and then its Chief Special. And that actually was the first competition in this category for Colt. And Colt actually in 1950 came out with a shroud that allowed the hammer to not catch on the clothing. There are a number of issues, of course, starting in 1927. You have first issue, second issue, third issue, fourth issue. The guns were pretty much the same up until 1946. But then in the 1990s, they transitioned over to the SFVI and then the Detective Special too. Now, that Colt lineage goes all the way to today's Cobra, which is based on the SFVI. For more on double-action revolvers from Colt, go to Colt.com.